The 2017 NFL Draft was loaded with amazing talent across the board. In just the top 10 alone, there were guys like Myles Garrett, Jamal Adams, Christian McCaffrey, and Patrick Mahomes, all of whom are multi-Pro Bowl stars. Also in the top 10, 3 dynamic college wide receivers were selected. Each were praised for their unique skill sets.
It can't be overstated how big of a run that was for John Ross. I think Ross is as good of a receiver as we've got in the class.
Herbert fires open, making the grab. Mike Williams down the sideline.
Mariota, it's caught. Davis, touchdown.
So now, over 6 years later, how have these once prized wide receiver prospects performed? Also in today's video, after we take a look at the 3 first-round wide receivers, we will briefly look at the rest of the receiver class, which featured 32 wide receivers selected across the 7 rounds. We will then decide if the first-rounders were worth their selections, as well as deciding who has become the best NFL wide receiver. Now, before we continue, this video is sponsored by Upside. Now, I think most of us want to save more and spend less, but with everyday essentials like gas and groceries and just inflation in general, that's pretty tough to do. But luckily, that's where Upside comes in clutch. Upside is an incredible app for anyone who buys gas, groceries, or dines out. With Upside, I get cash back on every purchase. I personally use it for gas, and my favorite thing about the app is just how easy it is to use. To get started, you're going to want to download the free Upside app. Use my promo code KTO and get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. And I'll just quickly walk through the steps on my phone. So you're going to want to download the app like I said. You're going to go through a series of questions. Then you're going to simply pick the option that you want. So I'm going to go highlight gas, and I'm going to scroll down to one of the places I frequently go. Then I'm going to claim the offer. You would add your card after that, and it's as simple as that. Also, another cool thing is that Upside doesn't sell your information to third parties. They know that your information is a vital part of their trusted relationship with you. Also, others love this app. Upside users are earning hundreds of dollars a year. That's probably why they have a 4.8 star rating in the App Store. So once again, to get started, you're going to want to download the free Upside app. You're going to want to use my promo code KTO to get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. Now let's get back to the video.
With the 5th pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Cory Davis, wide receiver, Western Michigan.
Interestingly enough, Davis wasn't hailed for the usual traits of an early first-round wide receiver. He wasn't overly fast, big, weight-wise, or physical, but his defining trait was how polished of a prospect he was. His route running and ball skills were second to none amongst all the players entering the NFL. Davis was a small school kid who, despite only receiving one Division I offer out of high school, went on to set the all-time FBS record for receiving yards. His comp coming out of college was Eric Decker, and because of his lack of ultra high-end talent, he earned late first to early second round grades from multiple teams. But the Titans really saw something in him. Coming off a 9-7 season with their young quarterback Marcus Mariota, the team had leaned heavy into the run game and was now looking to add some pass catchers for their young quarterback. In Davis's first season, the Titans made the playoffs, but a hamstring injury limited his play time. He didn't catch his first NFL touchdown until the playoffs. That's where he caught 2 of them in a loss versus the Patriots in the divisional round. The following year, despite making it to the divisional round, the team fired their head coach and hired Mike Vrabel. In 2018, the team leaned into the run game led by Derrick Henry. Davis did end up leading the team in receiving yards and touchdowns, which was highlighted by a few big moments, namely 2 game-winning touchdowns, one versus Philly and the other versus the Jets.
It's caught. Davis, touchdown.
In year 3, the Titans made the switch to Ryan Tannehill, and Cory Davis was no longer the #1 option. That became rookie A.J. Brown. And despite Cory Davis's most productive season of his career in 2020, the Titans declined Davis's 5th-year option. To this point, he was a solid #2 receiver, and in 2021, he signed with the Jets on a 3-year deal. But after 2 underwhelming seasons, Davis decided to step away from the game prior to the 2023 season. He hasn't officially said that he's retired for good, so we will see what happens in the future. As of now, this Reddit comment puts it best, at least for his time in Tennessee. Bust? No. Overdrafted? Yes. I look at a bust as a player that just isn't a contributor in any meaningful way. Cory Davis is a fairly significant contributor, but certainly not the level you'd expect from a number 5 overall pick to play. I think his production lines up more with what you'd expect from a mid to late second round pick. Solid starter, not a Pro Bowler or superstar though.
With the 7th pick, the Los Angeles Chargers select Mike Williams, wide receiver, Clemson.
Williams looked more like a number 1 wide receiver than anyone else in the class. Tall, big, strong, fast, and he had amazing ball tracking and impressive hands. But unlike Cory Davis, who was more refined, Williams was seen as a prospect who needed to clean up his routes and releases. He compared to Plaxico Burress strictly as a talent, entering the NFL. With Nick Sirianni as his wide receiver coach, and Phillip Rivers still playing at a Pro Bowl level in a heavy pass attack, Williams had a great chance to be productive right away. But a herniated disc that he suffered in training camp led him to missing the first 6 games of his rookie year. Once he returned, the team worked him in slowly. He only started 1 out of the 10 games he appeared in and caught just 11 total passes. But the promise began to show in year 2.
Here's a toss to Williams. Nice cut. He's got the touchdown.
Williams wasn't a huge production guy in terms of receptions and yards, but he routinely made huge plays and ended up scoring 11 touchdowns. One of those big plays was a game-winning 2-point conversion versus the Chiefs with 1 second remaining.
Wide open, what a night for Mike Williams.
In year 3, his touchdown numbers went way down, but he put up nearly double the yards on just about the same amount of catches, leading the league in yards per catch. By this point, Williams proved to be a big play threat on a regular basis. In 2020, Justin Herbert was drafted to replace Old Man Rivers, and in a high-volume pass attack, Williams was 3rd on the team in targets behind Keenan Allen and Hunter Henry. Then in 2021, it was the best year of Williams' career. He had career highs in receptions and yards, with also 9 touchdowns.
Fires open, making the grab. Mike Williams down the sideline. High steps his way in for the touchdown.
The Herbert, Allen, and Williams trio was one of the best in football. There was no denying by this point that Williams had the talent to put up solid numbers in the NFL. This year earned him a 3-year, $60 million extension. Then in 2022, he got a little banged up and had a down year, and then unfortunately, after a great start in 2023, Williams tore his ACL in week 3. Based on this Reddit comment, his Chargers career might be coming to an end soon. Feel for the guy. Might mark the end of his career on the Chargers as he would carry a $32.5 million cap hit next year, whereas cutting him is only a $12.5 million dead cap. Overall, Mike Williams has been good at times. He hasn't been top 10 pick dominant, but a solid receiver that has had his moments. He's consistently proven to be a big play threat to this point. And as for the future, it's just hard to guess what he will look like coming back, considering that he'll be 30, coming off an ACL injury next season.
With the 9th pick in the 2017 NFL Draft, the Cincinnati Bengals select John Ross.
If you want speed, John Ross is your guy.
Exploding onto the scene in 2016, John Ross torched opponents on his way to 19 touchdowns at Washington. He was a smaller receiver, but with his home run hitting speed, he compared to the deep bomb threat Deshaun Jackson. The interest in John Ross was certainly there prior to the combine, but the hype exploded after he dropped the record-setting 40-time.
4.22.
No way.
So according to what we just...
4.22 and he limped. That's why he limping.
4.22 speed is out of this world. And this became a huge reason why Cincinnati took him 9th overall. They were looking to pair Ross up alongside veteran AJ Green. But even that 40-yard dash was a bad omen. He pulled up afterwards with a hamstring injury.
According to what we just...
4.22 and he limped. That's why he limping.
According to what
He
we
just
just
ran
timed.
into an injury.
And even before the combine, it was revealed that Ross needed shoulder surgery. Looking back retrospectively, this was foreshadowing. Things got off on a bad note once camp started. Despite being a first-round pick, Ross was named the 6th receiver out of camp, essentially a bench warmer. And when he did get his shot, his debut went disastrously.
Speedy John Ross. This is the guy with the great speed, but he can't hang on to the ball. It bounces into the hands of Jadeveon Clowney.
Overall, his rookie season was plagued with multiple injuries, and he was a healthy scratch in many games. He didn't catch a single pass, and the words to describe his first year in the league included wasted, disappointing, and disastrous.
I felt like, do I suck? And I knew in my head, in my right mind, I'm like, I didn't get here because I ran fast, and there's so many reasons why.
Ross managed to get on the field in year 2 and finally saw some success, catching 7 touchdowns. But he never really had a huge game and only amounted to 21 total catches on the season. By this point, he was already being written off as a bust. But for 2 weeks at the start of the 2019 season, those arguments were put to rest after he had 2 huge performances. But then it was back to injuries and a lack of impact when he was out there. Prior to his 4th season, the Bengals declined the 5th-year option in his contract, and things had gone so poorly by mid-season that Ross tweeted, quote, "It's not a secret that I have requested a trade." He was never traded. Instead, Ross only appeared in 3 games with just 2 catches. He signed with the Giants in 2021, but only made minimal impact as a backup. And since then, Ross has not appeared in a game ever since. In July 2023, he announced his retirement. But just last week, he said he wants to make a comeback, so we will see what happens. Overall, John Ross flashed playmaking potential at some points, but was plagued by injuries, even going back to before his NFL career began. That, combined with not being impressive enough to the team to earn more opportunities, led Ross to not getting a ton of reps. And this was evident by the amount of games that he was a healthy scratch. And ultimately, his career was a disappointment. So in wrapping up this video, 32 wide receivers were selected in 2017. Round 1 can be described as players who were overdrafted. It was mostly underwhelming, with flashes of success from guys like Mike Williams. Round 2 went about as expected. All 3 became decent number 2s, with the exception of Juju, who exploded onto the scene by year 2, but saw a noticeable dip in production after that. He did play a vital role in the Chiefs' Super Bowl win last year, but he hasn't done much in New England. Round 3 was by far the biggest surprise of the class. Galladay, Kupp, and Godwin all became Pro Bowlers. Rounds 4 through 7 were mostly a mix of guys who were quickly out of the league to decent backups and special teamers at best. All in all, 32 wide receivers were drafted, and 6 years after the draft, 19 are out of the league, and just a third are still active players. And for the best wide receiver of the class, that honor goes to Cooper Kupp. This dude shocked everybody in 2021 when he led the league in receiving yards and touchdowns. Not only did he have one of the greatest all-time seasons by a receiver, but he also had a tremendous playoff run, catching 6 touchdowns in 4 games, and he went on to win Super Bowl MVP.
Snap it from under center, steps back, throws the fade, back shoulder, Cooper Kupp's got it! Cooper Kupp brings it in!